Alright, finally back. Hopefully for good this time. Thought that was going to be the case last time. Picking up again with my combat mission playthrough. I seem to have just lost... okay. That's just my monitor being finicky. You wouldn't have seen that. My monitor just flicked off and back on again. Anyway, picking back up with my combat mission playthrough with a game that isn't combat mission, Theater of War, which I am using because, well, I am the point in the timeline I'm at right now with the combat mission is France 1940, and unfortunately can't get any battles with French tanks on the Allied side in the Legacy combat mission games, so Theater of War is filling the void there to allow me to get some French armor going up against German armor. And actually, I'm getting fairly frustrated with, like, every single scenario. I have to check that there are no anachronisms with the combat mission scenarios, because Combat Mission Afrika Korps is not supposed to be set in France 1940. So that's the monitor. The scenario designers are trying to get clever in order to make the game work in that setting, and they're not always being strict with what was and wasn't available in May or June of 1940, so I have to double check all of those scenarios. So I'm just going to stick with Theater of War for the remainder of June 1940 until we're done with France, and then pick back up with Combat Mission, and back up again with Combat Mission once I've entered Combat Mission Afrika Korps' intended time frame. So lots of Combat Mission to come, but in the near term I'm going to be finishing up all of the French missions for Theater of War. So I believe this mission, I could have been given that spiel while the mission was actually loading, but I'm not going to read the briefing there because it's not quite as... You don't get as much detail from the briefing here. Okay, but that'll be coming in the reserves. Okay, makes sense to have all the tanks in the reserves and the AT guns in the immediately present force. I might be able to fit some more reserves. Okay. Okay, now those crews are lost. Let's see. Do I actually want to move any of these guys from reserves to deployment? Maybe any of these tanks? I have 60 points. Exactly enough to bring in one squad, or maybe one of these things. Okay, monitor flicking in and out could be a continuing problem for me. Okay, that's pretty limited armor piercing capability. In fact, really, like, only tanks with really thin 15 millimeters or less armor, and only at point blank range. But this thing does have some armor penetrating capability. Or I can bring an extra infantry squad. I have 3 infantry squads to start. Yep, I am just going to leave reserves in deployment at their default. I may regret that. We will see. And of course, playing Theater of War, since I've been taking such a long break from Combat Mission, I imagine I've lost a considerable amount of tactical proficiency, just, because it's a perishable skill. But, you know, Theater of War being a little less complicated than Combat Mission, but still, like, the next most realistic RTS after Combat Mission, will help me ease back into it. But, yeah, okay, some terrain analysis. Pretty flat open fields ahead of us with pretty clear lines of fire. How detailed is the terrain modeling in Theater of War? Will those bushes block line of sight? Maybe they'll degrade line of sight, but I haven't seen much evidence that they outright block it. Will putting my AT guns in the bushes improve their survivability at all by making them a little bit more concealed? Well, I no harm in trying. Try putting an AT gun at as extreme an angle as possible. Can I get one at sort of a, well, not hull down, but sort of a most of the gun down position? If I could, you know, edge it back enough behind a rise in the terrain so only like the top portion of the gun, like just that little bit, is visible, it would significantly improve its survivability. Like, other than that, I don't think there's a whole lot I can do with the default starting positions. Yeah, this gun, I'm gonna try to get it some protection from... oh. Right. Controls. What were the controls? Okay, right click I can... ah yes, left click and drag. To remember the controls in Theater of War, which I've played enough of it that I should have the controls down. It's just been so long. Been months. Okay. There aren't really any tools to help me with line of sight here, so I have to eyeball it and guess. I want these AT guns to be as protected as much as possible by the terrain here, which I think I can manage a little bit. There's enough of a slope here that I can hide the AT gun a little bit behind the slope. But at the same time, I don't want to create any dead ground in front of the trenches. Yeah. Actually, I think maybe this line of bushes is as far back as I could safely move this AT gun. Because I don't want it to get blinded by all this foliage here. Maybe I can put the AT gun in sort of a protected angle corner right here. Maybe get it a keyhole right here, except the bush is blocking it. Ooh, might be able to get a keyhole here. That might limit its usefulness too much, though. So I can get a nice, good oblique angle where it's cutting across the whole line of contact and maybe shoot enemy tanks in the flank. That may not be necessary, as German tanks I'll be facing be Panzer IIIs or IVs at the best, and they have about 30 millimeters frontal armor, and this can punch through 42 millimeters at 500 meters and 35 millimeters at 1,000 meters. Granting that's getting pretty close to 30 millimeters, so any sort of angling would probably cause it to glance off at that point, but certainly within 500 meters we should be able to penetrate any German tank. Just need to make sure that this thing survives until they get within 500 meters, which shouldn't be too hard. And I want it to survive to get as many shots off as possible. Okay. Yeah, okay, so I've already moved that gun. I don't suppose Theater of War has a zoom. There are key bindings here, controls. Camera. No zoom. A zoom would be really useful for telling from here just how protected is that AT gun by the terrain. Right now, it doesn't look like I have actually gotten it a whole lot of protection from the terrain. I mean, it must have some. Like, the most important thing is it does... Like, I want it to be protected as much as possible, but the most important thing is that it can see and shoot at the enemy, so if I have to choose between putting these AT guns in a well-protected spot and giving them a clear line of fire, vulnerable but with a clear line of fire is what I'm gonna have to end up going with. And these things definitely should be protected somewhere. Buildings there. $12mm of frontal hull armor, 14mm of frontal turret armor. Basically anything the Germans have can punch through this, which, okay, it's an armored car. It's not really supposed to be able to stand up to a whole lot of firepower. I expect, you know, they're going to be coming more or less from the direction I'm facing. Situation is very grave, almost no hope for the salvation. Gee, thanks, you really inspire me there. Many of our brothers in arms have fallen in combat, and anything... Maintain the defense of the village. My flanks are apparently only lightly protected, which means maybe I might get attacked in the flanks at some point. What is going on with this monitor? I'll figure it out after it's not too intrusive. Like, I'm pretty sure it's, you know, it's something with my monitor, not my computer. So you will be seeing no trace of what I'm having to deal with my monitor flicking off every once in a while. But it comes right back on. Just, it goes dark for a few seconds. It has a fairly tall profile. It's not, I don't think, going to be getting full protection from this wall. I need to keep that in mind. Remember, there's 3 dimensions to account for here. Oh, I can't. So, where can I put it? Sure the cable is secure at the very least. Okay, all the cables are secure. It's not a cable issue. Anywho, right. Germans gonna be attacking me. Okay, I think I'm gonna put you in this bush here and hope that on the one hand the bush doesn't obscure your line of sight, but on the other hand it does obscure the Germans' line of sight. That's what I'm hoping for here. I don't have any tools for checking that. On the one hand, I'm sure those infantry would really appreciate having some AT support to their front. This would protect... Yeah, it's relatively low to the ground, so should get some... Okay, not a whole lot of reverse slope protection there, but protected to its flank, so it only has to worry about tanks to the front. Downside is the inverse of his right flank is protected is can't support, or this crew can't support the AT guns to his right, to their right. I'll take it. Okay. And I think one last thing is I'll make sure each of these infantrymen are nice and tucked in these little, I know there's a term for these sort of indents in the trench. I think they offer a little bit better protection from artillery than just being in the general trench. So... Oh, actually, no. You over here. Yeah, micromanage everything I can to give my guys the best chance they can get. I don't suppose I have any anti-tank rifles, which, okay, they're not... Anti-tank rifles really aren't very efficient anyway. But it's nice for the infantry to have some organic anti-armor capability. I really hope Battlefront does some early war stuff. Like, it would be interesting to see some of these French infantry with their armor in action in 1940, up against, the early war French formations going up against early war German formations. None of the French equipment is really bad, strictly speaking. It's just... okay. Their tanks have some drawbacks. Being slow and having poor visibility. But their infantry small arms are all perfectly serviceable. MAS 36 is a... I mean, it doesn't, break any records or anything, but it's a perfectly fine bolt-action rifle. And, surely we have a light machine gunner on this squad. Oh dear, is this squad all riflemen? rifleman, rifleman with an extra pistol. Oh, huh. Well, crap. All riflemen with no automatic rifleman, no light machine gunner, is a dramatically less efficient squad than one with a light machine gun. Yeah, none of these are all rifles. Why does this guy just have a pistol? Okay. I think that's the best I can do for them. One downside to the AT guns being where they are, if they're decrewed, the infantry will have a long way to run to reman them. Once they're decrewed, they're, you know, under heavy fire anyway, and any remanning attempt is, from past experience, tends to not last terribly long from that point. This feels like, now that I've put this AT gun here, this guy is redundant and I should put him someplace else where it'll be a little bit more useful. I'll keep him there for now. Exposed to most of the front there. I could try to put him in the compound, but I might not be able to try it out of it. Oh, you know, the turret can poke over there. The wall provides some protection there. Plus the turret is so small. Yeah, it's a semi-covered position. Well, it's only really protecting the lower front hall. So the upper front hall has a pretty steep angle to it, and the turret's a pretty small target. That might be a fairly survivable position. You can get that 37mm gun into action. Alright, I'm gonna keep him in that position for now. I will have you poking out here to start. If it gets too hot for you, you can reverse back that way, and yeah, I think this is the best I can do for my guys. Huh. No icons until I select them, which is great and cinematic and all, but makes command and control a little bit more difficult. Game settings, is that... I don't remember that being a thing. Ah, yes, always show unit icons, please. Yes, that'll make command and control a little bit easier. Unpause. You know what? have all of you duck down, because I kind of expect the enemy to open with an artillery barrage, and no barrage so far. We got sighting on tanks. Ah, there we go. Okay, with them ducking down and those little notches there, they ought to be a bit more survivable. Ah. Funny. Yes, escape pauses in combat mission. P pauses here. Okay, that's over 500 yards away, or meters away. But that's like, what, 700 meters? But it's a Panzer II, which only has 15 millimeters of frontal armor, so you should theoretically be able to penetrate him at this range. Yeah. Panzer II-C. Some later models of Panzer II have 30 millimeters of frontal armor, which is why it matters which variant of the Panzer II you put in your scenarios. If you're doing May or June 1940, you know, invasion of France and the Low Countries, it's really got to be a Panzer II-C. I think Panzer II-D. I think the Panzer II-D came out in 1940, but I believe it did miss the invasion of France. So it was not, I don't think, around in time for that. Oh, dang it. Pressing the wrong button. Oh, dang it. Okay. Anti-tank guns are firing away at long range. They're firing away at Panzer IIs mostly, so they should be fully capable of killing these guys. This AT gun is, of course, not really in position to help right now. Might move you forward just a little bit. Being down 50% of my AT gun firepower. Oh, yes, another advantage to being this far away. Having my AT guns this far back means the artillery that's targeted at the trenches is not hitting the AT guns. Oh, but the Panzer IIs seem to be getting some fairly accurate autocannon fired here. Have we taken any of these things out yet? I've taken 6 casualties so far. 7, according to this stuff down here. We don't know of any tanks that we've destroyed so far. Ah! Okay, right. I need... Right, okay. Units in theater of war, I had forgotten this, like to move without orders. If you want to prevent them from moving, you need to give them the hold position order. Explicitly tell them not to move until you give them an order. So, you are supposed to be... let's see now, there's a way to give waypoints. Was that... Shift? Yes. Alright. Okay, this AT gun is still in action. Yes, and we've knocked out an enemy tank. And decrewed another one. Decrewed doesn't count towards my actual numbers that I get credited for, but as far as reducing the enemy's strength, it's as good as a kill. But I am apparently credited with 2 tank kills, so where? There you are. This sucker right here. Okay. And actually, with 3 enemy tanks down, this already has been a fairly effective defense. Another one down. Oh, I have artillery support. Remember to check the top right corner for that. Where should I place it? Well, how long does it's going to take to come in? A little while. So I guess the enemy infantry will be maybe about there when it arrives. Yep, it's been decrewed. Okay. Actually, I am sacrificing my entire anti-personnel defense. Damn! That is one thing Theater of War really has over Combat Mission, is the modeling of aircraft. At least visually, anyway. That is spectacular. And yeah, aircraft are a lot more effective against AT guns and, you know, soft targets than they are against tanks. Okay, but Yep, yeah, no, I put the artillery too far forward. Ouch! Yep, and they're all still active. Looks like we have defeated the enemy tanks here. Alright, artillery is still going. Damn it! I don't have any anti-aircraft guns. Anti-aircraft gun would be really nice to have right about now. I have pretty much defeated the enemy tanks. Okay. Not as far forward this time. Yikes. Huh. You know, I thought it would either take longer to come in or that the infantry would be further forward by the time it did come in. Oh, crap. Oh, crap! Alright, but we got you engaging it. Oh, it's that flank attack that they hinted might happen. Yeah, you stay right there. Hurry! Nice. Very nice. And that is 5 enemy tanks destroyed and 1 decrewed. That looks like a Panzer III to me. The Panzer IIIC in this, at this point in time, I believe. Another Panzer II. Panzer IIs are more or less the backbone at this point in time. Panzer III's meant to be the backbone, but in practice, well, no, they did. Hang on, that was autocannon fire from the front. It certainly didn't come from the left, because I'm shielded from the left. I don't see any tanks here on the moment. Oh, okay. Last bit of artillery. Oh, right, I forbade you from rolling forward. Okay, roll forward a bit. Not much, though. Okay, artillery about on target. Oh, reinforcements. Yes, let's get you lot in here. There's a flea. Okay. I think I will, my infantry, push forward in wedge formations, because we are dealing with enemies to the flank, and wedge is good for flank protection, while also providing decent firepower to the front. Okay, and I believe we've more or less dealt with the enemy armor, so just need to get okay, my infantry, well, we'll get sort of formed up here first, but from here, once they're formed up along here, just generally attack in this direction towards this trench. I'm gonna, now I've got 4 squads. Say send, I want to keep them relatively concentrated, get the most out of their firepower. But so they're not stumbling all over each other. One pushing in this direction, one pushing through this gap, one hooking around this way, and one in reserve. Yeah, I think that's what I'll do. Oh, the screen blinked out again, and it was doing so well. Ah! What? Is it 3 times in a row now? Why? Why? It went several minutes without blinking out, and now it does it 3 times in a row. 4 times in a row. So this is going to be annoying, because for one thing it's going to be... I can try to figure out what's causing this, but I won't really be able to know whether I've solved the problem, because it's not... I don't know how to induce the problem, how to, you know... And how do I make it happen to check that it isn't going to happen anymore? Okay, this Panzer II ought to be having a bad day. It's got at least, yeah, 3 hit decals to the front. So it ought to be pretty badly damaged. It's got hit again in the turret, in the side turret. Yeah, it's got to be that decal. So armor protection is the same all around, 15 millimeters. What is it going to take to kill that thing? Of course, once that's killed, I think that'll just about be all of the enemy tanks. So my tanks should be able to rampage with impunity, finish off their infantry. Barring any additional enemy attacks. Okay. 6 enemy tanks destroyed. It's not bad. We've got 2 enemy attacks to defeat here. But I only selected 2 vehicles. Why did I get... No, I can... Which one's it facing? This fence is a problem. Guess that would be the reserve squad. Okay, I guess if there are no more tanks to deal with, you will probably do more good. Disembark from the gun and pick up your rifles. Oh, crap. Okay. Yes, this does complicate matters a bit, doesn't it? But I guess it isn't really a surprise. Okay, what I need... You dismount that gun. And go help man that gun. Right. Stay still and shoot. Actually, I was gonna have these two turn that gun around to get into a better firing position on this flank, but probably faster just to have the crew move to this gun, which is already over here. Need at least 2 crew members in order to turn the guns in this game. I remember that much of the mechanics at least. Yeah, these squads have machine gunners. 7.5mm Mac 1924. Which is, by all accounts, a perfectly decent early war light machine gun. Well, I mean, light machine guns didn't change all that much over the course of the war. So just what changes there were is, the Germans moved up to the MG42 from the MG34. I believe the British made some modifications to the Bren, some sort of minor variations on later war model Brens than early war, but other than that, not really. Guys, move up. That's what I'm working on. Stop. Yeah. Destroyed that tank. Panzer II. I can't get the camera any closer because it's off map, but I'd have to look at the gun to tell for sure, but I'm guessing it's a Panzer III, or it could be a Panzer IV, but that looks like a Panzer III to me. Okay, now that you have 2 crew members and can turn the gun, and taking some incoming fire, not surprising, they're a high priority target for the enemy. Just need to get some shots on. Miss, but you've given the enemy something to think about, other than my armored vehicles, which are all presumably shooting at it. Oh, I think that was a hit. Can't get close enough to see the decal. And I don't want to forget about this firefight over on my left. Okay, only 1 crew member left, but at least they're facing the right direction. Well, more enemy tanks. I may be doomed. What are you doing on ammo? Get some more anti-personnel firepower forward. Ooh. Actually, losing that crew means I can crew that anti-tank gun without spending any infantry to do it. Stop. Shoot at the enemy in front of you. I need to deal with the enemy infantry first before we can reman that anti-tank gun. Did you not? Stop. Shoot. No. Stop. Don't rush forward. In fact, lie down. Damn it. Lost this anti-tank gun. Ah, 9 enemy tanks destroyed. Nicely done, but this one still is not among them. Alright, well, my tanks are firing their main guns at whatever they can see. The S-35, it's got a 47mm gun. Just comparatively, quite good. There to be 37mm that are the most common. Alright. We only have a pistol. I need to get a tank with some machine guns over here now. Ten enemy tanks knocked out. Ah! One of our shots finally got lucky and killed that one. I feel like these 3 may be the last ones. Yeah, mobility kill there. Okay, unfortunately they're Panzer IIIs. But oh well. I think we have the firepower to kill them. Though not... We can't... We're not guaranteed to be able to kill them. This fight could still go either way. Please shoot at the enemy infantry. And please use your machine gun. She'll be far more effective than the main gun against infantry. Machine gun, please. Not a great time for the screen to black out. Okay, back. was the light machine gun from this squad. So taking out one of the German infantrymen there. Right now I think I'm a little bit more concerned about the German infantry than the tanks. Obviously we need to take those tanks out. Oh hey! I'm credited with successfully repelling the enemy attack. May be close to winning the battle. I am pretty confident in the armor of my S-35s. They aren't impervious, but they're pretty strong. Actually, I'm going to rotate. I want some armor angling here. The frontal armor, well, on the turret, is slightly stronger than the side armor. On the hull, the side armor and the front armor is pretty much the same, so 45-degree angle would be optimal if the tracks weren't already destroyed. So I can't turn them anymore. I was thinking maybe I should nudge them a little bit more to the left, but yeah, too late for that. You halt. Rotate a bit. We get forward a bit. Back to the main line. Oh, I see. You're dealing with the enemy infantry. That's oh, you're out of main gun ammo. Well, then yes, the enemy infantry would be all that you can deal with. That is almost 500 meters away. Can penetrate 38 millimeters at that distance. So theoretically, can kill that Panzer III from here. So it's getting pretty tight. It's not very steeply angled, so there we go. One more German tank down. Right, both of my S-35s are now immobilized. That's okay, they are immobilized in positions overlooking the enemy advance. Now, what objectives do I have left? I have... with my main assets immobilized, my infantry pretty heavily degraded, I don't think I'm attacking anything anytime soon. Yeah, expecting me to attack anything may be a little over-ambitious. Just got these 2 enemy tanks left. Once they're dealt with, it'll just be down to the enemy infantry. In fact, right now, the enemy infantry are the main threat, I think. "11 tanks, and really 12 tanks, because there's that decrewed one that I don't get credit for. This is some pretty heavy losses for one battle. Actually, yeah, hell, if they get some crew to this thing, can they salvage it? Well, it's lost a track. It has a hit decal in the center with who knows what damage that might have caused. It's right on the joint between the turret and the chassis, so that might have damaged the turret ring, which would make the turret pretty much inoperable. But can probably repair that. This tank may be salvageable. So if they win the day here and are able to reman that tank and tow it out of here, they may be able to put it back into service. Yeah. Attack the enemy group of forces by... Oh, I've basically won this. Huh. Wait, am I actually winning a theater of war battle? It's been a while since I've actually won a theater of war battle. Yeah, any sensible enemy would be retreating at this point. The AI, of course, cannot be counted on to be sensible, but will sort of... Okay. I think that went pretty well. I suffered 57 casualties. Lost 3 vehicles. Those must have been all armored cars. I didn't lose any tanks. Only had 2 tanks. All my other vehicles were armored cars. But, you know, armored cars with 37mm guns on them, which is actually just as powerful as the guns on my tanks of this period. Enemy lost 82 men and 11 tanks. 12 tanks when you count the one I didn't get credit for, because it wasn't destroyed, just abandoned. Okay, yeah, it's now then. So yeah, I'm going to be continuing playing through Theater of War until I've finished up all the French missions taking place in June 1940. Then it'll be off to whatever Command Ops missions take place between France 1940 and the intended time frame of combat mission, which of Combat Mission Africa Corps, which I believe the first missions that are actually inside the intended time frame are like October or November 1940, the British versus Italian troops. Some of those missions. I look forward to getting to those. But, yay, I win. Drove off the Germans for the time being. They'll be back, obviously, but, see you next time.